Okay, I'm back with part two. So again, chapter 3, section 1. This is part 2 of the video only because I can only record my videos in 15-minute segments, so I apologize for that. We're still in the first week though. We're still the week of May 11th. Um, so you're going to get another video from me later in the week, which will cover chapter 3, section 2, so you can do part 2 of your scavenger hunt. So I realize this is probably very confusing, so please email me if you have questions. I'm really sorry. All right, so physical development of infants. So infants experience rapid physical growth through maturation and learning. So maturation is defined as internally programmed growth of a child. So it's how we mature. So we're all programmed to mature internally at different stages. It's kind of interesting. So we all have to, like we said, we have to crawl before we walk. So we have to do certain things as we mature. You can't just push a baby forward, or anyone for that matter, to mature faster than what they're biologically ready to do. All right, because we're internally programmed to mature at certain rates. And again, yes, some of us do mature faster than others, but typically speaking, there is an order to things. All right, so the average weight at birth is between 7.3 pounds and 7.5 pounds. By the end of the first year of life, some can weigh up to 20 to 25 pounds. So look at how much development is happening in that first year. I mean, it's exponential to what we see in other stages in life. There's so much happening in that first year. All right, the average height, it says, is between 18 and 22 inches. It's also listed there. So in the space of 2 years, they go from a grasping and a rooting in infants to being able to walk, to talk, and able to feed themselves. So unless a child is persistently underfed, severely restricted, or deprived of contact or things to look at, they will develop according to this schedule. Like I said, we're internally programmed to mature, okay? There's no amount of coaching that will push a child to walk or speak before he or she is physiologically ready. All right, it just won't happen. They have to be physiologically ready to do it before they can move on. All right, so here's a timeline, and I believe there are some questions on your scavenger hunt, on the part 1 scavenger hunt, that ask you to look at this timeline and be able to read it and pull off some details from it. So you can look in your book, or you can pause the PowerPoint here and check some details. But about 2 months, baby's able to raise their head. So this is what that tummy time is so important for. About 2.8 months, they should be able to start rolling over. By about 4 months, baby should be able to sit with support. 5.5 months, sit without support, sit on their own. By about 7.5 months, they're able to pull themselves up into a standing position. And somewhere around 9.2 months, they can walk as long as they're holding on to furniture. Sometimes we call this cruising. All right, as long as they're holding on to something, they can walk. 10 months, babies are creeping, they're crawling, and some of them can get really quick and fast at that. Somewhere around 11.5 months, they start letting go of that furniture and they're just standing there. They maybe don't take a step yet, but it's coming shortly. Once they get their balance and they can stand on their own, somewhere around 12 months, babies will start to walk. All right. So although different infants achieve milestones in motor development, motor means movement, at slightly different ages, all infants achieve them in essentially the same order. So this chart shows the average ages when milestones are usually achieved. So at what age would you expect an infant to start standing? Looking at the graph, you should come up with the answer around 11.5 months. Start walking somewhere around 12.1 months. All right. All right, this is really cool. This is called perceptual development. And if you remember from the first video that I posted, and we had a timeline that we were looking at when we did the daily focus. So perceptual development is not fully established until 6 months. So this is really cool. This is a study that some psychologists did to examine perceptual development of infants. So it's called a visual cliff. So on the left, check this out. This is a young baby under 6 months. This baby in the top left. Let me get my cursor right there. All right. They have designed this research study so that there's a checkerboard pattern and there's plexiglass over top of it. And it looks like there's a cliff there, visually speaking, even though there's not. There's plexiglass that baby can crawl across. So at under 6 months, if the mom's standing on the other side of that visual cliff, the baby will still come to the mom. They are not, their perceptual development is not developed yet. They don't see that visual cliff. They prefer faces and patterns most. Their depth perception has not increased yet, not until they hit 6 months of age. Now look at the older infant down here at the bottom. This infant is over 6 months of age. They've now developed a fear of danger through exploring. So even though there is their parent that's calling them saying, come on, come on, they're like, no, this is dangerous. I see a cliff there. I'm going to fall. All right. Again, they wouldn't. There's plexiglass there, but their perception shows that there's a cliff and they won't come. So this is, again, a developmental thing that occurs as they age, again, around 6 months for their safety. And the last thing we're going to explore is the development of language. So as a child begins to think, to represent things to themselves before he is able to speak, there's something called a critical period. This is a window of opportunity to learn language. And typically critical periods, you have to seize that opportunity. Otherwise, there could be delays later on. All right. So our steps in learning language. One must learn to make signs using their hand or their mouth. Maybe you've experienced some babies learning baby sign language, and some babies are really good at it. And with their hands, they can show you that they are hungry, that they want to eat, or they want to be held. They want their baba, their bottle. And so baby sign language is really cool, and it shows that babies can communicate even though they don't have the words yet to say those things. Then we have to move down to the second step here. We must give them meaning. So as we hand them a bottle, we say bottle, or we say baba, whatever it is that we think that they're going to start calling that. Or if they want their mother and they say mama, and you start identifying yourself as mama or dada, that's the next stage. We start giving things meaning as they start touching them and grasping them, and slowly their language will develop and their understanding. And then the very last thing to develop is grammar. So grammar doesn't start until around the age of 3. So that's the last part of language. So again, at age 2, children have yet to develop the well-defined grammar rules, and so they're using what we call telegraphic speech instead. So they're verbal utterances in which words are left out, but we understand what they are trying to say, what they are trying to tell us, all right? It makes sense. So like if they said something like, "Where my apple?" we know they're looking for an apple. All right, grammar rules don't apply. It grammatically is not correct, but we know what they mean. If they say something like "Daddy fall down," okay, we know what they mean. Daddy fell down. The meaning is clear, but certain words are kind of left out of it. Okay. So this is the stages of language acquisition, and so it goes from birth all the way up to 4 years. So in that first 12 months, in this all the way left column, we see pre-linguistic sounds, so the crying, the cooing, the babbling. You might hear oohs and ahs. Even hearing impaired infants exhibit these pre-linguistic expressions, all right? So between 12 and 18 months, so a year to year and a half, they're starting to utter single word utterances like mama, dada, ball, that was my son's favorite word. Ball. Everything was ball, ball, ball. They wanted balls. So the single word expresses an entire thought. For example, if they say mama, you know, they want their mama to come. They want their mama to pick them up, or they want to know where is mama. All right, you get the idea. All right, telegraphic speech, that's what we just went over. This is from 18 to 24 months, so a year and a half to 2 years. You're getting 2 to 3 word expressions. So dada car, mama go. So again, these expressions begin to show awareness of basic linguistic words, a little bit more description. They're aware that their daddy is in the car, or that mommy left to go somewhere, that she's not there. Speech starts using grammar between 2 and 3 years old. We're starting to get longer sentences, growing an understanding of linguistics. I want a lookbook. I don't like no baby. So again, the grammar is not quite there, but they're starting to put 3, 4, 5 words together, and a growing awareness of their linguistic rules. Negative sentences and what, who, where, why, and how questions are common, like where's the ball? All right, you get that a lot. Or why? Why can't I have the ball? Okay. And then at 4 years and older, we start to see adult-like speech. So complete sentences showing a good understanding of linguistic rules. I thought the castle was a giant's castle. Sentences are clear, expressions, and they show growing awareness of linguistic rules. So again, on your scavenger hunt, this is something you're going to have to do. It's going to ask you, give examples of telegraphic speech, or at what age will they use sound, will be used as symbols like mama and dada, and you'll have to put between 12 and 18 months. So this is, again, there's a chart in your book on page 68 that has all of these stages of linguistic acquisition on them. So you can flip there, or again, you can refer back to this PowerPoint for the answers. All right, so we're at the end here of Chapter 3, Section 1. So as a review, if you want to, again, this is completely optional, but on page 68, if you guys want to answer the review questions, numbers 1 through 4 on here, you can skip number 5. And just it'll show you a good review of everything that we discussed in both parts of this PowerPoint on Section 1. All right, I'll pause it here, give you a second to do that, and then I will go over those answers with you so you have them. All right, go ahead and pause and work on 1 through 4. All right, so question number 1, review the vocabulary, describe 2 reflexes. So the grasping reflex, the ability to grab and hold on to objects. You could have also defined the rooting reflex, the ability to move towards the source of touch whenever touched near the mouth. Question number 2, using a flow chart similar to the one below, list the steps involved in learning language. So you should have had something like step 1 is babbling and first words. Step 2 would be speaks in paired words, says appropriate sentences. Step 3 is asks questions in adult form, joins 2 or more ideas in a sentence. All right, question number 3 for your review for Section 1. What questions do developmental psychologists raise concerning nature versus nurture? Well, that's how much of human development results from heredity and how much results from learning. And again, we're going to get into that more next week. We'll examine that. And then question number 4 was think critically. How does human language acquisition differ from the acquisition of human language by an animal? Well, you would have had to go through and read a little bit more closely in your text because I didn't really cover too much about that. There was on page 67 how animals talk. But the answer to that is humans progress beyond animals in that they learn grammatical rules to allow them to express complex thoughts. Animals don't learn grammatical rules. So like chimps, they can talk, but they're going to talk more in telegraphic speech and expressions. So they don't use those grammatical rules. So humans are a little bit more progressive than animals in that regard. All right, this is it for Chapter 3, Section 1. You will need both of the PowerPoints posted today in order to answer the scavenger hunt Part 1. Sorry for the confusion. Hopefully we'll get this this little bug worked out so I can make my videos longer for you and you can just watch one for the whole week. So, all right, talk to you soon. Bye.